This is a psychology presentation focused on aggression. The question this presentation aims to answer is how do individuals develop aggressive tendencies? Evaluate research with one relevant theory on aggression. This presentation follows the following format. First, with defining what aggression is, then examining how individuals develop aggressive tendencies. I will then refer to my chosen theory, the cue arousal hypothesis, with reference to the weapons effects study. This includes an evaluation of both the theory and experiment. The definition of aggression is overt, often harmful social interaction with the intention of inflicting damage or other unpleasantness upon another. Aggression is either in retaliation or it occurs without provocation. Human aggression can be classified in two distinct categories: either direct aggression, which is physical or verbal behavior intended to cause harm to someone, or indirect aggression, which means harming the social relations of an individual or group. There are different explanations for premeditated violence compared to impulsive aggression, as they stem from different sources, but all contain the three fundamental features of aggression. These are firstly the intention to harm, which has an underlying motivation to cause harm or injury to another individual. Secondly, there is an awareness of adverse effects, meaning that the exhibited behavior can cause harm or injury. This does not include incompetence or carelessness. Lastly, harmful actions that the target wants to avoid. There are many different theories to how it is developed. These include verbal and physical provocation, frustration, physical discomfort, and violent media exposure. This suggests that aggression stems from either biological, environmental, or psychological approaches. The biological assumptions of aggression often explain unpremeditated or impulsive aggression as the result of some form of provocation that leads an individual or group to experience high levels of autonomic arousal and negative emotions such as fear or anger. Increased cortisol leads to the body turning into a state of fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. This can be classified as reactive aggression, effective aggression, or hostile aggression, and becomes pathological when the aggressive response is exaggerated in relation to the emotional provocation. Genetic predisposition to aggression is another biological explanation by examining twin and family studies. There is reason to suggest that aggression, specifically irritable or impulsive aggression, has high levels of heritability or genetic coincidences at a rate of 44% to 72%. This is influenced by gene-environmental factors such as familial situations, socio-economic factors, or cultural, which may increase or decrease the triggers to impulsive aggression. For example, when the genes for the serotonin transporter MAOA interact with childhood adversity, this increases and predisposes them to develop violent tendencies. Serotonin acts as a modulator and suppresses aggressive behavior by acting on serotonin 5T2 receptors in the prefrontal cortical regions. SSRIs have been found to reduce impulsive aggression. Psychiatric disorders are often associated to impulsive aggression, such as borderline and antisocial personality disorder, among which 47% of men and 21% of women who are violent offenders are diagnosed with this disorder. The psychological theories to aggression include the frustration-aggression hypothesis, cue arousal theory, cognitive neo-associationist model, and excitation transfer theory, learning theory, and social information processing model. Berkowitz and Lepage developed the cue arousal theory of aggression in 1967, focusing primarily on impulsive aggression. They go on to state that aggression is not necessarily internal, but is further triggered by external cues of aggression, such as weapons, threatening behavior, or items that stir emotional arousal, heightening reactivity. This is known as the central cue. It is described as a prominent stimulus that evokes a strongly learned response, so individuals would therefore display a learned habitual response. To further elaborate, peripheral cues have a decreased effect on influencing behavior. such as the internal voice or voice of reason. Fundamentally, an individual is already in some heightened state of frustration or emotionally reactive state. Then, in the presence of an aggressive cue object, this increases the likelihood of the frustration to become anger. They developed an experiment to test the hypothesis that a stimulus commonly associated with aggression can elicit aggressive responses. This is known as the weapons effect experiment. 100 students were exposed to either one electric shock or 7 shocks, supposedly by a peer, and then were given the option to shock this person. In the experimental group, the presence of a weapon was near the shock key, such as a rifle or revolver. For the control group, there were only 2 badminton rackets near the key instead. The results suggested that there is a greater number of shocks given by the strongly aroused participants, those that received the 7 shocks and were in the presence of weapons. Therefore, it was concluded that weapons or aggressive stimulating apparatus increased aggressive responses. Replicated experiments following on the original study have found similar results, using different weapons such as knives and tasers to test aggressive behavioral outcomes, in particular if participants were unaware of the hypothesis. The hypothesis was proven to be true. Such results were found by Simmons and Turner in 1976. A meta-analysis found that the weapons effect was valid and robust if conducted under the right conditions without demand characteristics, ensuring internal validity. According to theoretical models, aggressive cue objects such as weapons prime the accessibility of aggressive thought, increasing the likelihood of aggression. This is further supported by the meta-analysis by Benjamin et al. 2018 that examined the weapons effect and suggested that the presence of weapons reliably increased aggressive cognition and hostile threat appraisal. Criticisms of this theory include that the study may lack ecological validity. There is a lack of generalizability of the experimental findings in real-world situations. Furthermore, there is the risk of demand characteristics in this experiment. If participants are aware of what the hypothesis is, then they act according to what researchers are trying to find, thereby undermining the accuracy of the experimental results. This was found in the experiment by Simmons and Turner, 1976, that addressed these participant concerns. The weapons effect may perpetuate stereotypes and encourage negative social biases, prejudice that support racism. A study conducted by Payne et al. 2001 found that when comparing images of a black person and a white person, the first independent variable to the second independent variable, a picture of a handgun or screwdriver, participants were quicker to associate the handgun to the black person compared to the white person. This negative evaluation or the automatic activation of stereotypes suggests that the preconception of aggressive cue objects influence the weapons effect, but also further facilitate negative associations, which is detrimental to society. Lastly, the cue arousal theory does not explain premeditated aggression and only theorizes the probable causes to impulsive aggression, which is then heavily influenced by the need for an aggressive cue object. However, not all aggression is provoked by an aggressive cue object, but can exist and be exhibited without any provocation. In conclusion, cue arousal theory is prevalent in that its findings support that the likelihood of aggression is increased if there is an aggressive cue object nearby, but does not provide a coherent explanation as to the origin of aggression, only that certain stimuli makes aggressive behavior more likely to occur. Therefore, it is important to note that aggression is often influenced by other factors such as brain chemistry, genetic predispositions, learnt behavior, and other theories. Because of this, it is important to view aggression from an interactionist approach, a culmination of nature and nurture. One study found that half of aggressive behaviors can be explained by biological factors. This statistic in itself reduces the validity of the cue arousal theory. Furthermore, not all studies supported the original findings, but this is more likely due to demand characteristics. But if all variables are controlled, then the original findings are often replicated. Lastly, the cue arousal theory places emphasis on that individuals are already in a state of frustration. However, this is only one type of stimuli. Individuals can be in other states of being, and if subject to an aggressive cue object, aggression can be aroused again. Thank you for listening.